All right, let's dive into an absolute classic today, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now think of it this way. A lot of modern advice tries to give you a faster engine for your life, right? But what Covey's masterpiece does is give you the GPS. This isn't about little life hacks or quick fixes. No, this is a deep underlying framework for navigating your entire life, and it's all based on principles that just work. So let's fire up this GPS and see where it guides us.
Okay, so right from the get-go, Covey draws a huge line in the sand. He says that for the past century or so, our idea of success has been totally dominated by what he calls the personality ethic. You know exactly what this is. It's all about public image, communication tricks, having a positive attitude, basically all the surface-level stuff. But Covey says that true, lasting effectiveness, that comes from something way deeper. The character ethic. We're talking about things like integrity, humility, justice, the very foundation of who you are. The big takeaway here is simple but profound. Lasting success is an inside-out job, period.
So here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we'll lay the foundation. Then, we'll walk through the journey to true maturity. After that, we'll conquer the private victory of mastering yourself, which then lets us achieve the public victory of working with others. And finally, we'll look at the engine that keeps the whole thing running.
To really get these habits, you first have to understand what Covey calls a paradigm. So, what is that? Well, just think of it as your personal map of the world, how you see things. Now imagine you're in New York City, but the map you have is for Chicago. Does it matter how hard you work or how positive your attitude is? No, you're going to stay lost. To make real change, you have to fix the map first. And that is the essence of the inside-out approach. Change always starts with you, with your map, not your circumstances.
Now these 7 habits, they're not just some random checklist, not at all. They're actually a very clear, deliberate path of development. They guide us along what Covey calls the maturity continuum, which is made up of 3 very distinct stages.
So, we all start our lives in a state of dependence. This is the paradigm of you. You take care of me, you are to blame for my problems. Then, the goal for many of us becomes independence, the paradigm of I am responsible. I can do it. And that's a huge step. But Covey says that's not the final destination. The highest level of maturity is interdependence, the paradigm of we. This is where we realize that together we can combine our talents to create something far, far greater than I ever could on my own.
So before you can ever get to that powerful we stage, you absolutely must master the I first. This is what Covey calls the private victory. It's about winning the war within yourself. And it's achieved with the very first 3 habits, which are all designed to take you from being dependent on things outside of you to being fully in control of your own life.
Which brings us to the very first and maybe the most fundamental habit of them all. Habit 1, be proactive. So many people are reactive. If the weather's bad, they feel bad. If someone is rude to them, their whole day is shot. Their mood is basically a puppet, and their environment is pulling the strings. Proactive people, on the other hand, understand a crucial truth. Between what happens to them, the stimulus, and how they react, the response, there is a space. And in that space lies their freedom and their power to choose a response based on their values, not just their fleeting feelings.
Covey gives us a really powerful way to visualize this. We all have a huge circle of concern. It's full of things we care about but can't control, like politics or the economy. But inside that big circle is a smaller one, our circle of influence. This is the stuff we can actually do something about. Now, here's the kicker. Reactive people focus all their energy on their circle of concern, and their circle of influence actually shrinks. But proactive people, they focus their time and energy on their circle of influence, and as they do, it begins to grow. It's a total game changer.
So once you understand that you're in the driver's seat, the next logical question is, well, where are you going? And that leads us to habit 2.
Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Covey asks us to do this really intense thought experiment. Imagine your own funeral. What would you want your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers to say about you? It's a bit heavy, I know, but it gets right to the heart of this habit. See, all things are created twice. First, there's a mental creation, a plan, a blueprint, and second, there's a physical creation. If you don't consciously write your own life's blueprint, you can bet that other people and other circumstances will write it for you.
So having that blueprint is one thing, but actually building the house, that's something else entirely. And this takes us directly to habit 3.
Habit 3. Put first things first.
So if habit 2 was the mental creation, habit 3 is all about the physical creation. It's the practical, day in, day out application of your vision. It's about organizing your time and your actions around the values you just defined. Honestly, this is where the rubber meets the road.
And to do that, Covey gives us this brilliant tool. It's the time management matrix, and it divides everything you do into 4 quadrants based on urgency and importance. Quadrant I is crises, urgent and important. You have to deal with these. Quadrant 3 is interruptions, urgent but not important. Quadrant 4 is just distractions, not urgent and not important. But the real secret to an effective life? It's Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. This is where you do your long-term planning, where you build relationships, where you prevent problems before they even start. Effective people live in Quadrant 2.
Okay, so once you've achieved that private victory, you're proactive, you have a clear vision, and you manage your life around it, you're finally ready for the public victory. This is where you take your hard-won independence and leverage it to create powerful, collaborative relationships. This is the move from I to we. And the absolute foundation of the public victory starts with how we approach every single interaction with other people. This is habit 4.
Let's be real. Most of us are programmed to see life as a competition, a win-lose scenario. It's this idea that there's a limited pie, and if I get a bigger piece, you get less. Covey calls this a scarcity mentality. Habit 4 is all about shifting to a win-win mindset, which comes from an abundance mentality, the belief that there's plenty for everybody. It's not about my way or your way, it's about finding a better way together. And you know what? If a true win-win solution can't be found, the best option is often no deal, where you both agree to disagree and walk away friends.
But how can you possibly create a win-win situation if you don't even know what a win looks like for the other person? You can't. And that brings us to the absolute cornerstone of communication, habit 5.
This quote from Covey just perfectly captures the problem. Imagine going to an eye doctor, and without even examining your eyes, he just gives you his own glasses and says, "Here, try these. They work great for me." It's absurd, right? But that's how most of us communicate. We listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. We prescribe before we diagnose. Habit 5 is about flipping that script completely. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This means practicing empathetic listening, getting inside another person's world and seeing things from their point of view. Only then, once they feel truly heard, will they ever be open to hearing yours.
And when you bring all of this together, it culminates in the final, truly powerful habit of the public victory. Habit 6, synergize. This is what happens when all the previous habits are firing on all cylinders. It's when 1 + 1 = 3 or 10 or even 100. It's not compromise where both sides lose a little something. No, synergy is about creative cooperation. It's about genuinely valuing the differences between people and using those different perspectives to create a third alternative, a solution that's far better than what any one person could have come up with on their own.
So how do you maintain all this? How do you keep from burning out? Well, Covey tells a great story about a man trying to saw down a tree with a dull saw. Someone asks him why he doesn't stop to sharpen it, and he says, "I'm too busy sawing." That's what so many of us do. And this brings us to the final habit, habit 7, sharpen the saw, the engine of continuous renewal that powers all the others.
Sharpening the saw simply means consistently investing in the 4 key dimensions of your life. There's the physical dimension, your body, through exercise, nutrition, and rest. The spiritual, your connection to your core values and purpose. The mental, keeping your mind sharp through reading and learning. And the social/emotional, nurturing your relationships with others. By regularly renewing yourself in these 4 areas, you create an upward spiral of growth, making all the other habits that much easier to practice.
So we end right back where we started, with that fundamental idea from habit 2. Your life is created twice, first as a mental creation, then as a physical one. These 7 habits are the tools that ensure you are the one holding the pen for that all-important first draft. So the question to leave you with is simple. Who's writing your